making sense to anybody. This seems to be inept from top to bottom. To help us work through some of it, we're joined by Tim Clemente. He's a former FBI counterterror investigator and special agent. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Buck.
Tim, I don't want to be flippant about what the administration is doing. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that's happening that we don't know about. But so far, as it's reported from senior administration officials, they're asking for public help identifying these people. They say they have them under surveillance, but they're not moving against them. We know we've seen no arrests. We don't know of any kinetic activity, any targeted strikes against them. And there were over 150, by all accounts, 150 attackers. How much slower could this move before we said, you know what, they're not doing anything?
Well, it's a slow process. What we have right now is a typical manhunt, only it's not a domestic manhunt where you're looking for somebody where you know the region they're in, or they're moving cross-country in the United States using credit cards and we can track them. These individuals are very, very primitive in their actions. They could be moving anywhere, not using cell phones, not using typical modes of transportation. But the FBI would have to pore through all aircraft records, everything coming in within the months preceding the attack in Benghazi, whether planes, trains, automobiles, trying to find movement of these individuals. Where did they come from? How did they move? And where did they go to after the attack? The one individual was found in a hotel drinking a frap. That's fine. That guy's there. He's probably got a good level of protection around him. He feels comfortable enough to be there, but others are going to be laying very low. Literally, they could be in caves. And so that's hard to do a traditional law enforcement investigation when you're crossing international boundaries, especially if we don't have a good working relationship with the authorities in that nation. I can't tell you what the relationship is with the Libyans. I've never personally worked there, but I know after the attack, when the Libyan president came out with his statement of what the attack was, and then Susan Rice directly opposed that on the Sunday talk shows, that created some tension, and I know it didn't help the FBI get wheels on the ground there.
Tim, all of that would make sense except for the AP report that we have 5 of the attackers under surveillance 24/7, electronic surveillance. So why haven't we scooped them up and interrogated them so that we could learn about the other 150 and these other shadowy figures that you say are maybe hiding out in caves?
Because the individuals that we may have under surveillance may not be the primary targets. And if you're looking for the Jesse James gang, and one of the lower members, the guy that feeds the horses, is somebody you can watch, it's kind of like looking for bin Laden's courier. We're looking for bin Laden here. We're looking for the big players. So knowing where the guy is that washes the car, drives them to point A or point B, or are low-level participants in the attack, helps us in that it will direct us towards where the bigger players are. Because we want to take down this whole enterprise, this whole organization. We don't want to take down one of the little jihadists that participated in the attack.
Guys, I'm getting a sense.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'm getting a sense, Will, S.E., everybody, that this is an opportunity I think the Obama administration sees for that pivot that we've discussed very many times before here about making this a law enforcement issue now. They're waiting to gather evidence to try them in a U.S. court. They won't send them to Gitmo. It seems to me like that has to be a part of this slowing process, and that's assuming, as Tim says, that they're just gathering evidence over time and this is as slow as it needs to be. It's as slow as it needs to be, quite honestly, because we're not going to drop missiles on foreheads here. We're trying to actually prosecute people.
Well, the other alternative is that they're not that interested in finding these guys, and I offer that with humility, but that would lead into many of the questions we've asked about why the embassy in Benghazi was attacked. Because if you capture up the guys who perpetrated the attack, they can tell you exactly why they did it. Now, I'm going to actually defer to Tim on this and say, if it's much more plausible that it's simply hard to scoop these guys up, we don't have to pursue the motive that they don't want to scoop these guys up. But
we're choosing to scoop them up instead of blow them away is the point. That's the difference in policy now.
The president came out in the first remarks that we heard at the beginning of this segment. The president came out and said that we were going to get these guys. And again, American power has been asserted through the ages by our ability to find people who attack our people in their sleep and kill them. And this is something that I want to see done in this case, and that the president said that he wanted to see done in this case. Whether that takes scooping some guys up and asking who's hiding out in which cave, that's fine. Why haven't we done that yet? I just don't understand what the delay is. Why does it take this long?
I mean, imagine if months after the Boston Marathon bombing, we'd gotten some slow-to-come information on the security lapses that day, the communications errors, the mistakes maybe we had made in securing the event, but still had absolutely no idea who the perpetrators were. And if we had a vague idea, we were watching them, but we haven't really acted on it. I mean, imagine the outrage. And I know these are completely separate kinds of incidents, but it is absolutely startling to think that we are no closer to apprehending the folks behind this than we were the day after it happened when they were walking around on the streets.
And it does seem pretty embarrassing for a New York Times reporter to be able to find a guy who claims to be openly the head of this terrorist cell. He's drinking a strawberry frap, he's hanging out, and we're saying, oh, well, we're still trying to find facts. It's
if
like
you're going to tap phone numbers, that would be the one, actually.
You know, Tim, yeah, you would think you could start there. Tim, I'm not very optimistic about the ability to prosecute the, I mean, we're talking about 5 instead of the 150. Do you think that there's going to be prosecutions in the months ahead? Is this going to be a huge problem for the administration? Even if they want to move on it, are they going to have the ability based on the partnership with the Libyans? I just see nothing but hurdles.
There's definitely hurdles there with the Libyans, but I don't know that the administration's objective is to prosecute. It's so hard to tell. I mean, they want to take the guys who are in Gitmo and prosecute them in Manhattan, but they're also fond of not generating further intelligence by eliminating targets. I mean, Anwar al-Awlaki, Osama bin Laden, those guys alive are a lot more valuable than they are to us dead. And I don't know that they understand the intelligence value of some of these individuals, keeping them alive, and the targeting that may be going on right now, surveillance-wise, may be so they can develop a good target package for a drone strike. I can't say, because I'm not privy to what the national security apparatus is looking for in this case.
All right, Tim, thanks as always for your perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we've got some good news for you. Iran is holding